Who is she? Looks like she just walked in from a farm. Bet she doesn't even know how to load a gun. Why is she even here? This isn't a soup kitchen. The whispers grew louder, sharper, cutting through the dry air like bullets. Cameras zoomed in not on the competitors, but on her. A woman in her late 40s, skin tanned from the sun, hair braided back neatly, wearing a simple salwar kameez and scuffed sandals instead of tactical boots. She stood quietly at the far end of the shooting range, eyes focused on the target as if the taunts never reached her ears. And yet, she heard everything. Viewers, you are about to witness a story that will stay with you for a long time. This isn't just about a woman or a gun. It's about every person who's ever been underestimated, every soul who's been laughed at just because they didn't look the part. So stay with me until the very end, and trust me, you'll want to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to believe in themselves again. Because what happened next shook the entire country. The sun blazed over the range as sweat trickled down brows and anticipation hung thick in the air. All eyes, competitors, judges, and audience, were locked onto the one figure who had no business being there, according to them. A simple woman, a village woman, a mother of 3, wearing worn-out sandals and the same clothes she used to feed chickens in. She didn't belong on a shooting range, they had laughed. But now, after she loaded her father's old rifle with trembling fingers and raised it with a steadiness no one expected, the entire crowd had fallen into a deep, breathless silence. Shazia inhaled slowly, her heartbeat loud in her ears but her mind focused like never before. In that one moment, she was not the woman who had been mocked, laughed at, ignored. She was the daughter of a man who used to call her, Mera Nishain Baz Gulab, my sharpshooter Rose. She was the woman who stayed awake during thunderous storms in her village to guard her fields from wild animals. She was the woman who had not eaten properly for days to save money for the bus fare to come here. She was the one who had taken humiliation with her head down, but not anymore. She had exactly one bullet. One chance. The judges had allowed her just a single shot after the preliminary round, mocking it as a courtesy try, before she would be asked to step aside. The professional competitors stood behind with folded arms, whispering bets among each other, still half laughing under their breath. The announcer's voice was dismissive. Up next, Miss Shazia Begum, from Mianwali district. Someone snorted behind the microphone. Someone else laughed. But Shazia didn't even blink. Her fingers tightened gently around the grip. Her right eye narrowed, scanning the distance, 300 meters. A target barely the size of a coin. She remembered the metal tins her father used to line up on their mud wall. She had never missed a single one. She heard his voice again, breath in, hold, let it out like a whisper, and release. The shot rang out, and for a full 5 seconds, there was no reaction. No one moved. No one spoke. Then a red light blinked on the digital scoreboard. The bullet hadn't just hit the center. It had cut clean through the middle of the bullseye, dividing it perfectly, like a blade through butter. Gasps broke the silence. A judge stumbled forward. A tech official ran to check the calibration of the machine. Another judge reviewed the slow-motion replay on the large screen. And then it happened. The announcer, speechless for a moment, finally said it aloud. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a perfect shot. A historic shot. The range exploded in chaos. Reporters shoved to the front. Cameramen turned their lenses to her as if seeing her for the first time. And the very men who had laughed now stood frozen, mouths open, pride shattered. Shazia quietly lowered her rifle, stepped back, and folded her hands in front of her. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't basking. She was still, simple, calm, like the shot meant something only to her. But for the rest of the world, it meant everything. Within hours, video clips of the shot went viral. Headlines blazed across news portals. News anchors repeated her story with awe. Radio stations played her shot like a war cry. Young girls in rural schools watched her with sparkling eyes, and mothers across the country whispered her name like a prayer. Yet the journey was far from over. The very next day, Shazia was called to a national press conference. The once dismissive organizers now invited her to sit on the front row, next to generals, national athletes, and sponsors. She walked in quietly, wearing the same sandals. She had no makeup, no stylist, no flashy jacket with patches. Just dignity and simplicity. When asked about her training, she softly replied, "I learned with my father. He was never famous, but he was the best shooter in my eyes." A journalist smirked, "But you didn't go to any academy." "No," she said. "I went to my field every day. I trained with empty cans and the silence of the morning. I trained with faith." The audience clapped. Another asked, "How did you stay calm after the laughter? Didn't it hurt?" Shazia smiled gently. "It did, but not as much as forgetting who I am would have hurt more. I didn't come here to prove them wrong. I came to prove myself right." Those words became quotes printed on posters, on school walls, on online pages flooded with love. The government took notice. A scholarship fund was set up for rural women to train in professional sports. Shazia was appointed as an honorary shooting coach for underprivileged girls. And when she returned to her small village, a sea of people greeted her with garlands, tears, and pride. Old women from nearby towns touched her hands. Young boys asked for selfies. A local school was renamed after her. Even the dusty old wall where she practiced with her father had a new tin board nailed on it that read, but Shazia's proudest moment wasn't the trophy or the fame. It came one night, when her youngest daughter snuggled up beside her and asked softly, "Ami, can I also hold a gun one day like you?" She looked at her little girl and replied, "You can hold anything you want, beta. A gun, a dream, the whole world. Just don't let anyone else tell you when." Viewers, if this story moved something inside your heart, even just a little, don't forget to hit the button right now. Because there are thousands of Shazias out there, watching this screen, waiting for someone to believe in them. And maybe, just maybe, your one click gives someone else the courage to try. And if you want more stories of hidden heroes like her, people who rise from dust and silence the world, then make sure you do this channel. Trust me, this is only the beginning. Because sometimes, it only takes to change the story. The echo of Shazia's historic shot still rang through the streets of Mianwali, across the cities, into the quiet corners of dusty villages. She had become a symbol. Not just of talent, not just of surprise, but of possibility. Yet, as applause faded and the news cycle shifted, reality began to rise again, and with it, the weight of expectations, politics, and unseen barriers. A month after her historic win, Shazia found herself standing outside the Ministry of Sports building in Islamabad. She had been invited to meet top officials for a government endorsement, something that could change her life forever. But when she entered the grand office, something felt off. The same officials who had cheered her victory were now too busy looking at their phones. One of them, with a forced smile, said, "Madam Shazia, you were very lucky. One-shot wonders get 15 minutes of fame. Make the most of it." She felt the sting of those words. Not because they doubted her again, but because they didn't see what she had come to ask for. She wasn't there for herself. She was there for the 23 young girls back in her district, the ones who now practiced in an open field with wooden sticks, dreaming to be like her. "I would like funding to build a small shooting range in our village," she said. "And training support for girls from underprivileged families. I can train them myself." The room fell silent. A laugh escaped one of the younger officers. "That's sweet," he muttered. "But these things take time. Paperwork, budgets, and frankly, we need return on investment. Maybe if you win again." That's when she understood. Her victory was celebrated, yes. But only as a headline. Not as a mission. She walked out of that building, disappointed but not defeated. Her story wasn't over. She had more to do.